I like to have a little fun when I do my videos, and sometimes I touch on subjects that are difficult, but try and inject a little humor into it. But today, there's not going to be any humor. One, because the subject is so dark, it would be inappropriate to add humor to it. And two, frankly, I'm beyond pissed off and heartbroken. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to be a long video. I do hope that you invest the time to listen to it, because this is a critical topic that needs to be addressed. And it's one that I've addressed many, many times on this channel. The topic is false allegations and the devastating effect those allegations can have on men and boys. And this week, unfortunately, those devastating effects hit home. There was a young man known as Inquisitor or Ghost Inquisitor, a young man of 23 years old, a young man who chose to end his life over false allegations that were being made against him, allegations that weren't true, allegations that were so serious, his only option in his mind, unfortunately, was to take his life. And he chose to do it live on TikTok. Now, I'm not going to go into any further details than that. Others have already covered that subject. But I want to address the seriousness of the entire situation, because these allegations have become rampant. These allegations are literally ending lives. And the honest truth is, no one cares. We've all seen the allegations made against politicians and celebrities, the most recent one being Russell Brand. But others off the top of my head I can think of include Brett Kavanaugh, Matt Ariza, Kevin Spacey, and Trevor Bauer. And in many of those cases, those allegations were subsequently proved to be completely false. The men were completely exonerated. Those are the cases we hear about. But I want to share with you the cases you don't hear about, but the ones that I do. Because you see, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't hear from one or two gentlemen who are facing false allegations charges. Now, most people think false allegations are limited to SA, but they're not. I've talked about in videos before where false allegations are used in the corporate world, often to get promotions or to get back at a coworker. I've talked about how they're used every single day in family court against fathers. And that, my friends, is not one or two instances. That's literally thousands of instances every single day. And you'll often hear people defend false allegations as saying they're just a small number of allegations made. They're very rare, so we should believe the accusers. The thing is, those cases I just talked about aren't reflected in those numbers. They aren't counted as false allegations. Why? Well, my personal belief is because if they did start counting them, it would show false allegations are rampant. And then there's many others of the SA variety, some of which you may know of, but many you've never heard of. And I've had some of the gentlemen who've gone through that trauma on my show to talk about what they went through during it, and more importantly, afterward. Those men, although completely exonerated, are still struggling with it and are going to struggle with it for the rest of their lives. Their accusers, for the most part, have gotten off scot-free. In fact, of all the men I've talked to in the last year or two who were exonerated, I've only heard of one case where the woman was held accountable and sentenced to any kind of prison time. This is the reality, and this is something that needs to be addressed. Because unlike the aforementioned celebrities and politicians I talked about, the average man does not have the money to defend himself. He does not have the money to hire the teams of lawyers required to defend himself. He does not have the financial means. He doesn't have $500,000. And yes, it can run that high for the average guy. Think about that for a second. If you had to suddenly come up with $500,000 to defend yourself, and even when you win, you're still obligated to pay it. Not the person who accused you, the victim of the false allegation. Sadly, when these men realize what they're up against, realize that they can't afford to defend themselves, these men see no other choice but to unalive themselves. And while I can't say for certain that's why Inquisitor Ghost did what he did, I have no doubt it played a role. The presumption is men are guilty until proven innocent. That is the paradigm that came out of the Me Too movement. It has been driven home in every level of society. These allegations are made and completely believed, and the victim of them is abandoned. Often they have their means of earning a living taken away from them immediately, meaning they can't even hire lawyers. They hope to get help from family and friends, only to find out those family and friends often abandon them because they believe the allegations. And as I said, even when they're completely exonerated, more often than not, people still think they're guilty, and they can never get back what they've lost. That is the reality. And to you all, I say, we need to wake up. I'm not saying we shouldn't believe victims. I'm not saying they shouldn't be investigated. But we need to stop the guilty until proven innocent paradigm, because it is literally ending lives. I believe the Me Too movement initially intended to do good, to help victims, but it morphed and morphed rather quickly into something being weaponized to get men, to get back at men, to punish men, often for no reason at all. It is criminal what is going on. The alleged perpetrators of the false allegations against Inquisitor should be charged with murder in my opinion. And those other cases I've talked about, every one of them should be charged. A false allegation which destroys a man's life should be treated on the same level as if that allegation were true. Even when it's proven beyond any doubt that the man is completely innocent, people will still defend the person making the false allegation, claiming it's not really a big deal. No harm, no foul. He can just get on with his life. Well, my friends, no, he can't. And unfortunately, in many instances, he never gets the chance to exonerate himself. And as we've seen here, he chooses to end his life. The Me Too movement has to end, and end now. Again, I'm not saying that allegations shouldn't be looked into and investigated, but this presumption to automatically believe the accuser and to continue to believe them even when they've been proven to be making a false allegation, and to celebrate them, as we've seen recently in the Trevor Bauer case, where the woman who made the allegation is all over the media, getting paid to talk about what she did. It is criminal what is going on, and yet nothing is being done about it. Politicians don't care. The judiciary doesn't care. The police don't care. No one cares. And as I said, I hear from guys every single day that are going through this. I do what I can, but it's not enough, and it never will be enough. So the next time you hear a false allegation made, not just against a celebrity, but anyone, step back, take a pause, and wait to see if that allegation is true before you make any judgments. And stand by that person until it is proven they are guilty. Don't abandon them, which most people do. And to the friends and family of Inquisitor, I truly feel sorry for you. More importantly, I feel sorry for him, that he got to the point he felt he had no other option than to unalive himself. I wish he had reached out for help. And if you are in that position and you need help, reach out. Find someone that will listen to you. Find support. Because I don't want anyone to do what Inquisitor did. And I hope to God that those people who drove him to do that do get charged and do go to jail. Because it's truly disgusting what was done.